Palmer. Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on a Wednesday. This week's going slow. I told you about this every once in a while. When I get into that intro and I think about, sometimes I have to think about what day of the week it is. Wednesday really bummed me out there. Week's dragging. But I hope your week's going well. Casey Gaines and Taylor Sharp back there on the ones and twos. We're with you until 3 o'clock. David Grubb, Hard in the Paint podcast, going to come on and talk Sean Payton as well as the Pels, who dropped another one last night. He'll come on in 15 minutes. What If Wednesday? We're bringing it back for round two. Do some what ifs coming up at 1:30. In the second hour, we'll get you ready for LSU and Missouri tonight. Get you some SEC basketball picks as well. But we got to start with, I guess, officially the end of an era. The era was pretty much over. But there was a little bit of hope, and I'm not talking about Tom Brady right now. I'm talking about Sean Payton. You know, it's I think there are mixed emotions for those who pull for the black and gold today, because you allowed yourself to look at the Saints and what happened over the last season with Dennis Allen, and things just didn't go well, and there's discussion on talk radio, which probably was not warranted, but it certainly came from right here at times, about whether or not Dennis Allen will be back. And whether or not Sean Payton would come back if he needed. He was burned out and he wanted to take a year off and then jump back into it. Oh, lo and behold, the Saints gigs is going to be open. And that you allow yourself to think that way, because the Saints' history is essentially a huge dark cloud and then a 15-year ray of sunshine. And so today you may look at it and go, man, it really is over. And that's okay if that's like a sobering feeling to you and you're like, oh, all right, well, he's headed to Denver. But what happened yesterday for the New Orleans Saints organization, not the Broncos organization, for the Saints organization, desperately needed to happen. Desperately. And this is coming from a non-Saints fan. That had to happen. Assets are what the Saints did not have, other than the contract of Sean Payton, which wasn't going to win you any games next year. It was an asset, but it's not going to win you any games next year. Now you've recouped some things, and you're in a better spot than you were. So, sure, be sad that Sean Payton's not coming back to the Saints. That's reasonable, because he was such an influential person and piece to the greatest run in the history of the franchise. And I think for some people listening to this, the most fun they've ever had watching sports. Now, if you're an LSU football fan, there have been more high highs, certainly LSU baseball as well. But if you're more a Saints fan than you are an LSU fan, that run with Payton and Breeze is the best ever for you. Assuming you're not like a Tiger Woods golf fan or something. It was awesome. And as long as he's with Fox, you can open the door to having it back. And that's a reasonable expectation or thought to have, even though we now know it was never going to happen. But yesterday was a huge positive for the Saints. Huge, huge positives. And it would be easy to look at this and maybe try to run the speculation game, which I just don't do very much. I'm, one, not very good at it, and two, don't think it's very productive. But there's a space for it in talk radio and in the medium and the podcast world to speculate on things. We're about to play What If Wednesday here in 25 minutes. That's a lot of speculation. But you could say, Peyton and Loomis are best buddies, and they really wanted to make things work, and Peyton was just gonna do right by his buddy Mickey and jump in when he could. I don't think so. Realistically, Sean Payton is going to go for one more ride here. Didn't mean to throw a Broncos pun in there, but it just came out. This is it for Sean Payton, likely. I guess it's possible in 3 years it doesn't go very well and somebody else wants to pick him up or whatever the case may be. This is probably it for Sean Payton. He's a really good coach. You would assume that with the structure that is in that organization, and you've heard Jacob Hester talk about it. He went from the Chargers to the Broncos, a whole new world. Peyton Manning raves about it. still lives in Denver. It's a strong organization. They'll back Sean Payton up with what he needs to be successful, and he'll probably win. So that's what he was jumping towards. Not, well, if I sit out another year, the Saints are maybe less leverage next year. I'm going to hurt them. That's bad for Mickey, and so bad for Dennis. My guys, let's get on with it. No, he found a spot he wanted to go, and they had some assets that the Saints could recoup. I'll be honest with you. Right when I heard this, I looked at the draft compensation. I said, okay, it's the 30th pick. It moves up to 29 because the Dolphins don't get to pick. 29th pick. That's not a quarterback spot. Certainly there are quarterbacks there. We know Lamar Jackson was taken right about there, and it can be done. But it's probably not. But my first thought was, uh-oh, here we go. The Saints have the 29th pick, and now they got their second rounder, and they got an extra one in next year's draft. Now they've got a couple picks. Oh, God. They're going to trade these picks and try to get up to 12 to go reach on some quarterback. They're going to trade the picks, try to move up to 8 to go get Levis. That's my first thought, because that's the DNA of the Saints organization, isn't it? So, yes, it is wonderful that they've recouped some draft compensation, albeit, and not albeit, but they recouped draft compensation for someone who was not positively impacting the organization. It's not like you gave up a quarterback or a cornerback who, might help you. Sean Payton can't help you any. And you got a first-round pick for him. That's a big deal. But don't package these picks and immediately run up to the front, mortgage more draft capital to try to get a quarterback because you think you can get up to number 9. Just hold your horses for a second. Look at what the Saints were on the field this year. They were a team that really struggled to stop the run for the first time in a long time. They were a team that didn't rush the passer well enough this past year. They were a team that had the faces of their defense begin to show age. They were a team that battled depth at wide receiver because of injuries, a team that didn't have a quarterback. They were a team that was shuffling people all over the offensive line. And there are more decisions you're going to have to make on what of those guys from that roster you're going to bring back. You need to get younger. And it's so easy to look at the past of the Saints and say, hey, go get the best guy. That's fine when Breeze is 36. That's not fine now. And I know that Dennis Allen may feel like there's some heat on him and you got to go win right this second. That may not be realistic. Now, the other side of this coin, while I'm telling the Saints to hold their horses, use your draft capital, and try to get some young players that are on the cheap that can help you, which you didn't have as much access to 24 hours ago. At the same time, you look at the Tom Brady news, and you go, wait a second. Is it possible that the NFC South would trot out Andy Dalton, Kyle Trask or Blaine Gabbert, Desmond Ridder, and Sam Darnold? Is that what we're doing here? Because, that's a hell of a thing. The NFL is all about money and interest and storyline and creating all this buzz. They want to go play in London. They want to go play in Mexico City, go play in Berlin. They want to maximize the draft, make the combine a television event. Here's an idea. If the NFC South agrees to put Andy Dalton, Kyle Trask, Desmond Ridder, and Sam Darnold out there for a 17-game season, I'll just sweeten the pot if I'm the commissioner, get those 4 teams in and say, hey, if y'all use those 4 quarterbacks this year and any of y'all win 10 games, I'll double your salary cap next year. How about that? Because that is brutal football to watch. And you have to evaluate what your division is when you're putting together a team. If you're sitting there and you're in the AFC North and you're Cleveland, you know that Joe Burrow is going to be there for 10 years. You better put somebody on the field that can go get him. Just an example, like you sometimes you have to play to your division. There's famously, people talked about Bill Belichick. The Jets were the second best team in the East, and they had Revis and Cromartie. So he went and got Gronkowski and Hernandez and said, all right, go guard our receivers nobody's ever heard of. Watch what these tight ends can do. So it, again, may be tempting if you're the Saints to look at your division and go, God, this is awful. We can win this thing easy next year. We just got to go get this guy. You're not there anymore. That's the Breeze era. When you got Payton and Breeze, you can be a little bit more aggressive going to get piece A or piece B. When you got Dennis Allen and Andy Dalton in an aging defense and some decisions to make in the offensive line and likely no more Mike Thomas, why don't we use these picks? Maybe trade back and get a couple more. A lot of different ways to approach this thing. In my opinion, the Saints need to approach it like, we got a couple years to build a team here. That's the way it feels to me. But what happened yesterday had to happen for the Saints. You got two players yesterday. I don't know who they're going to be, but it's a big deal. So Sean Payton will go to Denver. You won't see him unless you end up in the Super Bowl. And you've got more assets in the draft. Please don't go trade him to move up and get one guy. Just my 2 cents on the matter. We'll get David Grubb's thoughts on it. He's with Hard in the Paint podcast. He'll talk a little Saints with us, and we'll also talk about the Pels, who continued their slide last night. Stick with us on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Still telling you about Hunters for the Hungry, a nonprofit that was founded by a group of local hunters to share the game and fish they harvest each year with the needy. They cranked things up in 1994 and since have expanded throughout the state, now partnering with all 5 major food banks in Louisiana. They do some great programs like Clean Out Your Freezer Day. That's held every September, where sportsmen are encouraged to make room in their freezer for what they're going to bring home in the upcoming hunting and fishing season. 35 drop locations are set throughout the state of Louisiana, and all the properly packaged protein is accepted and welcome so that it can be distributed to the needy. Just one of the great things that Hunters for the Hungry does. If you know of an entity or a nonprofit like Hunters for the Hungry, maybe it's a person who's doing some great things in the business world with philanthropy in our state. Maybe it's just a business that's doing awesome work in our great state. We'd like to tell their story. Go to LWCC/champions. I did that this morning. LWCC/champions, and you can read about some of the awesome people and nonprofits in our great state. We also want you to nominate someone to be recognized as a champion of Louisiana. Hunters for the Hungry, our champion of Louisiana, presented by LWCC.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $8,500 off new 2022 Ram 1500s. New 2022 Ram 1500 trucks on our lot now with $8,500 off MSRP. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right. Bayou.
I've got that blue sky. I've got that sunshine.
Moon Griffon is back. The voice of Louisiana politics makes his return to Baton Rouge. Catch the Moon Griffon Show weekdays from 9 to 11 a.m. on Talk 107.3.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Cornell Toyota in Opelousas is here to help you ring in the new year with no markup.
Join me, Jimmy Ott, for the Wednesday evening edition of Game Time. We're live at Roca Pizzeria on Government Street. Game Time at Roca Pizzeria, Wednesday, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Rolling right along here on a Wednesday. Some people in the Bayou Ford chat commenting on my obnoxiously loud yellow pullover that I've got on today. Look, if it's going to be dreary and gloomy all week long, might as well wear something that's just ridiculously loud on the set, which I'm doing here. So those of you that are looking, here's a very, and plus it's game day. Tigers in Missouri tonight. Huge game. Maybe not a huge game, but a game nonetheless. We'll talk about it in hour number 2. Let's go out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. David Grubb from Hard in the Paint podcast joins us, talk a little Saints and Pels. David, how are you?
I'm doing well. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you here. Yesterday, in my opinion, I just opened the show with this, was a really good day for the Saints organization because they recouped some assets for Sean Payton. You see it that way?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't think that they would get as much as they did, and I thought that the likelihood was increasing rapidly that Sean was going to sit out another year. I just didn't see a lot of jobs that were attractive to him, and you saw teams weren't willing to pay the price that he initially asked. So for the Saints to get what they got, which are 2 picks that are relatively high, in the top, 42? 2 picks in the top 48, I think. So to get that in a market that is not paying coaches like it used to, is not valuing older coaches as much as it did, it's a win for the Saints.
Yeah, I certainly see it that way. Now, the DNA of the Saints organization over the last 15 years has been to be aggressive in the draft, to move up, to target players. And I think that's great when you've got Drew Brees and Sean Payton and everything is on the up and up and you're usually winning 11, 12, 13 games. This doesn't look like that to me. Do you think the Saints will change their draft philosophy and maybe be a little bit more conservative in stockpiling a little bit more players at this point?
Yeah, that's my concern, is that there are a lot of holes on this team. And if you're moving up, you better be certain that you're grabbing a franchise quarterback or a franchise left tackle. Those are the only 2 things I think that the Saints could justify turning multiple picks into lesser picks in that case. And I don't know if that quarterback is going to be there for the Saints, however high they can move up in this draft. The teams that really want a quarterback are going to take them, as they usually do. And to me, like you said, I think that there's probably more value for the Saints in getting more picks, considering their financial situation and the uncertainty that they have at a number of positions, rather than having fewer picks and trying to get one great player.
With the news from Tom Brady this morning, what do you make of the NFC South? That's a very open-ended question, but take it wherever you may.
That is an extremely open-ended question.
I mean, it looks awful to me from just sitting back 5,000 feet.
I mean, the one thing you notice is that you've gone from a division that probably 3 years ago you're saying had the best quarterbacking top to bottom. You talk about Cam Newton, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and Matt Ryan. So you either had an MVP or a Super Bowl champion in every one of those cities. Now, every team on that list has a giant question mark at quarterback. Every team on that list, you could have talked about, again, a few years ago, it was maybe the best coached division, again, with Ron Rivera, Sean Payton. You had guys who had won Super Bowls and taken teams very far. Now you've got a bunch of quarterbacks, coaches in their first or second year with the teams that they're with. So, yeah, you're right. This division is completely up in the air and has gone from year in and year out being maybe the most competitive division in the NFC to now being a bottom feeder.
Does that change the way that the franchise looks at its current situation?
It shouldn't, because You're not just in competition with these three teams in your division. What does winning the NFC South do if you're mediocre overall? Your goal is to win a Super Bowl, and your fans are looking at more than a decade now of not really getting much closer than one NFC championship appearance. They're not going to go through a lengthy rebuild. They don't expect a lengthy rebuild. So setting the bar at winning the NFC South is not high enough.
You're speaking my language. David Grubb from Heart in the Pain podcast joining us. Let's switch gears over to the Pels. Another loss last night. Any concern whatsoever with the inefficiency from BI offensively?
Yeah, I think there should be. There is a myth that has been going around that it takes Brandon Ingram this long time to come back from injury and play well. But, I did the stats. 30 games he had played, the first 5 games from major injuries. His career stats and those averages were pretty much in line. 23 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, about a block, about 3 turnovers. Well, we're looking at over these last 3 games, Brandon's shooting, under 30% from the field, under 15% from three-point range. He's turning the ball over at almost 5 turnovers a game, which is, again, very high for him. His turnovers last night turned the tide in that game where the Pelicans had that 12-point lead. He turns it over 3 times in the second quarter, and all of a sudden it's a much closer game at halftime. He has not been efficient. He's not gotten into good shooting position, and he's been struggling to get his teammates involved. So, yeah, to me, how long can you wait? Because you're saying you need Brandon to get back in rhythm. Well, you're still at least 2 weeks away from Zion Williamson coming back and then him getting into rhythm. You've only got 30 games left in the season. How much time are you waiting for these guys to find their beat?
It's just a precarious spot right now. Are you worried about the psyche, demeanor, day-to-day vibe around the team right now?
Absolutely, because there's no way that they should be even we understand you're missing one of the best players in this league, but accidentally you think you'd win a game over 9 games. Good teams do not lose this many games, and it's not just the 9. You're talking about since that 18-9 start, you have a grand total of 8 wins. You haven't beaten a winning team on the road since October. So what does that tell you? It's deeper than Zion Williamson. They're not playing good defense collectively as a group. They're not stopping people from getting into the paint. You see reports that Jackson Hayes is ready to move on. Go ahead, move on. You've already seen Willie Hernangomez speak up about his role. You see some regression, it seems, offensively for a guy like Herb Jones for whatever reason. You haven't seen Trey Murphy take the step that you thought he would take this year. There have been some notable good things, but I think Jose Alvarado over the last 25 games has been disappointing in his play as well. Outside of Najee Marshall and Jonas Valanciunas and most nights C.J. McCollum, these guys have been inconsistent, and it doesn't have anything to do with Zion Williamson.
How surprised are you that you just rattled off all of that after what we were talking about in the middle of December?
Well, I mean, things change, and you can only deal with the circumstances as they are. At 18-9, they were playing much different basketball. But now this is one of the worst offensive teams in the NBA. This is one of the worst, a middling defensive team at best. And you watch them on a night-to-night basis. You don't see the energy. When your coach is saying you're not playing with joy, you're not playing with competitiveness for 4 quarters, I understand it's the dog days of the season, but you're watching teams literally walk past you in the standings. And you're 10th now and 2.5 games from being 13th. And you've got a schedule over the next 4 games where the Pelicans are not going to be favored in any of those games. So this streak could go on conceivably for another 2 weeks.
Whew, that's hard to swallow. I like to get this perspective, David, because I noticed when I lived in New Orleans very briefly for about a year how different the sports fields in the city are between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, even though they're not separated by that many miles. Has it cooled off down there with the intensity and the energy and the support that the Pelicans were getting around Christmas?
I don't think the support has cooled off, but I think you're seeing what you experience with people and fan bases that are still trying to learn what winning is supposed to look like. So you have this divide now between people who want to be hopelessly optimistic, and you have other people who are the spectrum between realism and the sky has completely broken. That fight is very odd to me, but it's part of that thing when you don't have a lot of success, and there are people who are still living off that high from that 18-9 and not seeing that it's not just injuries. No team, everybody's going through injuries.
Yeah.
But this is a Pelicans team that's lost to the Orlando Magic. They've lost games to really bad teams during this streak. So it's not just injuries. It's a deeper problem than that.
David, we appreciate the time. We'll do it again next week.
Yes, sir.
David Grubb, Hard in the Paint podcast down there in New Orleans, does an awesome job talking Saints and Pels as well. They're different spots, very, very clearly different spots with the Pelicans and with LSU basketball. But I can hear that internal strife within the fan base with the Pelicans fans who are hopelessly optimistic as he calls and says, look, it's injuries. They're going to get back. We're going to be fine. They'll go on a run like they did last year. Don't sweat it too bad. Then there are people that say, this team's broken. A couple of guys won out. The coach doesn't know how to correct this thing that's been going on for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And you're kind of split on that. And then there's the LSU basketball fan base that's looking at it going, McMahon, they're not that bad talent-wise. They should be more competitive. They should win some games. This guy doesn't have what it takes. He's quiet, and he's not getting it done and that. And then you got the group that says, look, hey, you're talking about a guy that had to cobble a roster in the dead of night with the NCAA hanging over him, and they'll get better. And that's, I guess, part of being a fan. Is some people are going to be more optimistic, some are going to be pessimistic, but the truth's usually somewhere in the middle, and we'll see what the truth holds for these Pels over the next few. Because look, you're talking about a team that's lost 9 in a row. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in a row. They're at Dallas tomorrow night. Then they got the Lakers and Kings coming in for the weekend on Saturday and Sunday. Then you got Atlanta coming in on Tuesday. And then you got Cleveland coming in. You would think they're not going to lose all 4 of those games at home. You would think. I don't know if they're going to beat Dallas tomorrow, but you would think that they could win one of those home games. They just need to snap it and move forward and hopefully find something moving on. But as the losses continue to stack, it just weighs on you mentally, and it's a tough spot right here for the Pels. They lost last night by 9 out in Denver. Take a timeout, come back. What if Wednesday? If you're in the Bayou Ford chat, throw some what ifs in there. I've got a few that Taylor will read out, and then we'll hear from you in the Bayou Ford chat. Could be sports, could be food, could be anything. We'll do it all on What If Wednesday next.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has $4,000 off MSRP plus $1,000 Ford credit cash on new 22 Ford F-150 XLT trucks. That's $5,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Start your day with news and newsmakers. Start your day with traffic, weather, and local stories that are important to you. Kickstart your day every day. Mornings with Brian Haldane from 6 to 9 a.m. Weekdays on Talk 107.3.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary. For those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. More reaction to Sean Payton becoming the Broncos head coach. We'll preview LSU, Missouri, recap Pels and Nuggets. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Getting through the work week here on a Wednesday. Hunt Palmer Show. Get you ready for LSU and Missouri tonight, an hour at number 2, and everybody's fired up about it. But look, it's what we got midweek. Gone through a little bit of Saints. Talk a little baseball potentially later and certainly tomorrow. But it's basketball season, so we're going to talk a little bit of basketball. But we got a new segment that we debuted last week called What If Wednesday. I'm going to get a few from Taylor Sharp here. And then we'll get some from the Bayou 4 chat. Already have a few rolling in. So we've got some what ifs over there. Fire away. But Taylor, let's play some What If Wednesday.
Yeah, let's do it in honor of the GOAT himself, Tom Brady, retiring today. What if Drew Bledsoe never got hurt?
That's interesting because, I mean, it's obviously very interesting. We know that in 2001, Drew Bledsoe got smoked on the sideline. I didn't realize until I went back and read about it a little bit today how bad this injury was. He was losing a ton of blood. They were having to drain fluid from behind his ribs and around his lungs. Like, it was a really, really bad deal that happened to Drew Bledsoe. But, of course, they went on and played, and Tom Brady took him to the Super Bowl. What I also did not know, that was the first year of Drew Bledsoe's 7-year, $42 million contract. The first year, 2001. So if he never gets hurt, he's going to play that out. And they're not necessarily, I mean, unless they see something in practice with the number 2 quarterback they drafted in the 7th round out of Michigan, that he kind of becomes Matt Castle-ish I mean, he obviously would have found it somewhere, and he would have been a great quarterback somewhere, probably the greatest quarterback of all time somewhere. But they're not going to bench their 7-year, $42 million quarterback, who still, by the way, played 6 more seasons.
Yeah, he went to the Bills and then the
played
Cowboys.
For the Bills
right
and the
before
Cowboys. Like, they would not have just moved on, I don't think. It would be hard to have identified it in practice when you can't hit the quarterback and everything's kind of scripted. We know that they ended up trading Bledsoe the following April after the Super Bowl, but this would have been a very different story if Bledsoe doesn't get hurt, because Brady probably would have had to catch on somewhere else after some strong preseason stuff, kind of a Matt Castle deal, maybe a Matt Flynn type deal where he had one game late that didn't matter, and then the Seahawks jumped all over Flynn. It would have been a very, very fascinating story if Drew Bledsoe never gets hurt, that's for sure.
Sticking with Mr. TB12, what if Tom Brady had eaten any sort of tomatoes over the last 23 years?
So I guess the question is more so not about tomatoes, more so about the absurd diet he went on. What did he drink at that parade that got him all twisted? Vodka made out of what? Avocado vodka?
I think it was cucumber or something like that.
Cucumber vodka?
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. But, I mean, I do think if he doesn't go to the ridiculous lengths that he did, he would not have been able to play this long. I know there's some of the guys that were smoking cigs on the field back in the 70s that played it for a very long time. But if you're in Big Ben shape, which is enjoy your off season, carry 35 extra pounds and sling it around on Sundays and just take some hits, you probably can't play to 45. That's just the reality of it. And Drew Brees kept himself in amazing shape as well, and his body inevitably broke down. But Brady, that TB12 method and the ridiculousness he went through every single day and not indulging in anything really ever. I mean, you've heard Jeremy Hill tell the stories about, like, they brought Brady birthday cake in.
They made him try a piece, and he was
just
furious
freaked out that he had to have a bite of birthday cake. I think to be that good that long, to 45, I don't think you can – I don't think you can be normal, quite frankly. Be a normal person that functions day to day if you're going to play elite-level football till you're 45 years old. And so, yeah, no heirloom tomatoes for Tom, no tomatoes of any kind for Tom, because they're clearly not great for your football body. But he did a lot of things a lot of people have never done before, that's for sure.
All right, let's move on. All this Tom Brady talk is making me sad.
Good.
What if LSU wins a national title and Angel Reese has a double-double in every game?
That probably makes her National Player of the Year. I mean, Katie Clark's numbers are better. They're nuts. But that probably makes her National Player of the Year. If they win the first national championship in school history and she's a National Player of the Year, her jersey goes up. I mean, I don't have another way to put it. You put it up there with Simone and Sylvia and with Pettit and Macklin and Shaq and Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, and that's a realistic possibility, and we're that far down the line. I think you could, after they beat Alabama in 2019, the football team, I mean, you could tell Burrow was going to win the Heisman Trophy and was going to be a legend at LSU. That's where this is trending. Now, they've got a lot of work to do. They got to go handle their business against South Carolina, and they got to get into the NCAA tournament, and they can't slip up. But that's where this thing is heading, and that's so fast and so furious, and you don't think about that with the kind of a transfer that comes in, but all of a sudden you kind of think, well, Joe Burrow was a transfer too. Yeah, if Angel Reese has a double-double every game, they win the national title. I think even maybe if she doesn't win National Player of the Year, there's still very strong argument can be made. You put that thing up there in the rafters, and her career is likely not done after this. I mean, it's not quite like the men's game where you jump once you reach this level. There's a lot to be said for playing college basketball, and the financial reward in the WNBA is not nearly what it is in the NBA. So maybe this thing is written a couple of chapters worth when it's all said and done. But yeah, I think she's headed for her jersey in the rafters if that were to happen. I guess that's the point of the game.
All right, I'm going to throw one in here.
Okay.
What if LSU actually hired Tom Herman in 2016?
Man, I wanted him so bad. So bad. I just thought what he did with that Ohio State offense, even with a third-string quarterback and scoring the way he did against Saban, I thought that's what it was going to take at LSU to slay the dragon, because you weren't going to get anywhere in Baton Rouge with without beating Alabama. You just can't accomplish anything. And that's what Texas A&M failed to realize in 2020 until the dust had settled. They thought, well, we were 9-1 and the only loss is to Alabama. If you're in this division and you lose to them, it's over. So it's too easy to say, well, it didn't work at Texas, so it wouldn't have worked at LSU. Those are very different jobs. So I can't say, definitively that nothing good would have happened, but you're not going to get Joe Burrow because you're probably not going to have the staff connections that you ended up having. The safeties coach knows Jimmy, and all of a sudden you get Joe down here. I would say Tom Herman would have probably had a pretty solid run at LSU and would still be here. I don't know that you wouldn't have had the 2019 run the way that it was, I don't think, but I think he would still be there and they'd still be a pretty good program. I don't think you would have had the off a cliff situation that you did. COVID makes everything a little bit more different, but my opinion is that Tom Herman would have come here. He'd have had a lot of 9, 10, 11 win seasons. That's kind of what I think, but we'll never know.
What if Joseph Asai never touches Patrick Mahomes?
If Joseph Asai never touches Patrick Mahomes, I guess they're going to have to probably throw. Was that fourth down or was it the last play of the game? Now I'm fuzzy on that.
They probably could have ran another play. They kicked the field goal with like 8 seconds left. They lined up after that
they had to kick
because
again.
It was a 15-yard.
But that was like third down.
Yeah, it was like third.
It was third down,
like
so they
9.
probably would have had to punt. They would have had to punt, and so you're going to go to overtime. And my opinion on overtime is the Chiefs would have won. I thought the Chiefs played better for 60 minutes. Certainly, the Bengals had every ability to get it done. They were every bit the team the Chiefs were this year, in my opinion. Not on that day. I thought the Chiefs were a better team that day, and so I think the Chiefs probably would have won the game anyway.
Well, not only that, you're forgetting Mahomes already had the first down. They threw 15 yards on top.
Okay.
Look,
so they just weren't going to get there.
Butker would have hit a 60-yard game winner instead of a 45.
No, he wouldn't have. Not in the 19 degrees into the wind.
He's good, man.
Bealey said they weren't even attempting warm-up kicks over 50 yards. So they would have had some work to do. All right, we'll go to the Bayou Ford chat and pull some of these. I saw one earlier that said, what if the Honey Badger comes back? That's an interesting question. Now, you realize his massive, massive impact on the 2011 season is very difficult to replicate. It's not like he would have been a quarterback where you snapping the ball on every play. Yes, punt returning was awesome. Yes, playmaking ability was something we had never seen before. I still don't think they would have beaten Florida that year. If you remember, they went to Auburn, couldn't get the offense going at all, and they beat that awful Auburn team 12-10. That's a team that went 0-8 in the league. And then they went to Gainesville, and Florida ran the ball in every play in the second half, and LSU lost 14-6. If your offense puts up 6 points, I don't know how much Tyrann Mathieu is going to do to help you. Maybe he runs a punt back or forces a fumble, maybe, but I don't think they win. Now, you could convince me that maybe they could beat Alabama with him out there. Can he chop down TJ Yeldon on a screen pass? Maybe. That would have helped a lot. That was 8 feet from me. Not that close, but 12 yards from me when he was running by into the end zone. And if they beat Alabama that day, they have a chance to go play for the national championship if the rest of the chips fell where they did that year, where they beat Mississippi State, beat Ole Miss, beat Arkansas, and they would have been an 11-1 team and champions of the West. So it's possible they could have figured it out at that time. The offense got clicking late, and Mettenberger started throwing the ball, but it's tougher for me to forecast the greatness that would have come the following year in terms of game-changing plays because those are so difficult to forecast with anybody, maybe except Tyrann Mathieu, but it certainly would have been a very, very positive thing. Dustin Blanchard, what if Patrick Reed had won that tournament after his obvious attempt to cheat? He came out yesterday with some more absolute trash where he said that his responsibility was only to describe the ball to the rules official, not to identify it. That's incorrect. It's his job to identify the ball. He truly believes that when he comes out and the video evidence overwhelmingly suggests that he's breaking the rules and that no one's going to care or notice. We're just going to be like, oh, yeah, Patrick, yeah, that's a good description. I guess we were all wrong on that. Just carry on. He really thinks that he can continue to do that while he continues to file lawsuits all over the country, cheat everywhere, go play on the rival tour. Every decision he makes and everything he says is just so contrary to what is actually true. It's amazing. Nookie in the Bayou Ford chat, what if Eric Walker doesn't look into the dugout from the mound in Omaha back in 2017? Well, Paul Maneri would sit here and tell you they would have definitely won the national championship. I don't know about that because he couldn't have pitched any better than Caleb Gilbert did in the Oregon State game that they won, and then Lang came out and beat him again. And I don't think LSU would have won, obviously, the game that they lost against Oregon State in Game 2 of that College World Series. So the question really comes down to, does it affect Game 1 of the championship series where you had to throw Russell Reynolds out there and you got beat? The days make it difficult to suggest that it would have, but it's possible. I guess Caleb Gilbert could have pitched that game, and he pitches well that game, and they beat that Florida team, which wasn't a great Florida team. Kevin O'Sullivan has had 5 teams better than that 17 team that won his national title. They just had 2 really good pitchers. LSU didn't have to see one in the championship series in Faedo. So maybe Caleb Gilbert pitches Game 1 of that championship series, and LSU wins it. They get it to a Game 3, and Lang's able to go. Maybe that does make all the difference. It's nice to think that way, but unfortunately, we'll never know. That'll do it for Craig Schilling. What if Moises Alou catches a foul ball in the 2003 NLCS? That's the Bartman play. The Cubs won the World Series. They were clearly the best team in baseball that year. Clearly the best team in baseball. Got a 3-1 lead on the Marlins and couldn't hold it. I don't put it all on Bartman, but some. Put some on Bartman. And they'd have beaten the Yankees like the Marlins did. The Cubs were really, really good with Wood and Pryor, Clement, Zambrano, Derek Lee, Moises Alou, Sammy Sosa. That team could go. But they got it done 13 years later, so I forgive all the sins of 2003. Plus, that 2003 fall was pretty good for me. So LSU won the national championship in football. That's a What If Wednesday. I thank you all for hanging out. We'll do it every single Wednesday. We'll come back and close out hour number 1 next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford. BayouFord.com is where you can find the inventory. Love telling you about the service department over there at Bayou Ford as well. Nobody likes getting their car serviced. That's what we got to do. You got to take care of your vehicle. It's how you get places. So Bayou Ford makes it as easy as possible. They got 6 full-time drivers on site. You call them up and say, hey, I need to get my car serviced, but I got to get to work. I got to get the kids to school and to practice and what. I need a car. They will bring you a loaner. They'll take your car back to the dealership. They will service your vehicle, and when it's done, they'll bring it right back to you. No sitting in waiting rooms, thumbing through Instagram. No sitting in waiting rooms waiting for them to service your car. They can handle it while you get on with your day. When they're done with it, they'll bring your car right on back and take the loaner back to the dealership. Convenience is king over there at Bayou Ford, and they do a great job on the sales side and the service side of making that a priority each and every day for all their customers. BayouFord.com is the website. Check them out online, BayouFord.com. Bayou Ford, what they're going to do right by you.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside off the bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Moon Griffon is back. The voice of Louisiana politics makes his return to Baton Rouge. Catch the Moon Griffon Show weekdays from 9 to 11 a.m. on Talk 107.3.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Join me, Jimmy Ott, for the Wednesday evening edition of Game Time. We're live at Roca Pizzeria on Government Street. Game Time at Roca Pizzeria, Wednesday, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Closing up hour one here. I've spent some time around Matt McMahon. I was able to interview him before one of the football games this year. He came out on set and did a little quick interview with us, like most of the coaches on campus do, and enjoyed my time with him. Have exchanged text messages with him since then every once in a while. It's not like I have a super close relationship with him, but he's a tremendous guy to be around, a really nice guy, and has won a ton of basketball games as a head coach. That's my relationship to Matt McMahon, and I'm certainly pulling like heck for him. I do think right now, if you're in the camp that this is a bad hire and it's not going to work, you're overreacting. If you're blindly saying this guy's a great coach, he's going to get it figured out and feel certain like that, that's a little ambitious as well. I think it's just too early to tell. That's my read on this entire situation. I lean towards him being a success more than I do towards him not working out here, but it's just too early because of what he took over, and you know that. But I wanted to bring up an example that I don't think many people in our listenership know about, and just kind of talk about this era, because I think most of us are accustomed to the time frame and the process of rebuilding a sports program, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, whatever it may be. And that's what we've known our entire lives when things hit rock bottom like they did for LSU last March, where the whole team leaves and the coach gets fired. So I wanted to go into something I read today on The Athletic. It's a story by Dana O'Neill about the Texas Longhorns basketball team this year. Texas and LSU, comparable programs in terms of their status in the NCAA. Big state schools, powerhouse athletic programs, championships, commitment to winning, that type deal. It's not LSU Murray State. It's not LSU Duke. It's not LSU Kansas. It's not LSU Troy. It's fairly comparable. Texas is 18-4 on the year. They're 7-2 and lead the Big 12, which is the best basketball conference in the country. You want me to tell you what their roster looks like? It's the 7th oldest roster in the top 25. Only Virginia and Iowa State are older. And one guy in their top 7 scorers signed out of high school with Texas. Their leading scorer is a guy named, his last name is Carr. He played at Pittsburgh for 2 years and Minnesota for 2 years. Their second leading scorer, guy with the last name Rice, went to New Mexico State. He's 23 years old. Third leading scorer started his career at Utah, transferred to Texas. Last name Allen. He's their third leading scorer. Their fourth leading scorer, you remember him, Tyrese Hunter. Hit the huge three for Iowa State as a freshman against LSU in the tournament last year. He started at Iowa State last year. Now he's at Texas. He's their fourth leading scorer. Fifth leading scorer, last name Dessou, went to Vanderbilt. Started for them for a few years. He's 22 years old. Sixth leading scorer, guy named Bishop. He started at Creighton for 3 years. He's 23 years old. You got to work all the way down to their seventh leading scorer, a kid named Cunningham, who didn't even sign with Chris Beard. He signed with Shaka Smart. Got transfers from Vanderbilt, Iowa State, Utah, New Mexico State, Creighton, Pitt, Minnesota. That's how they built the team. That's what's going to have to happen for Matt McMahon. We need the NCAA to come down and tell us what the deal is. And then he's got to go in the transfer portal. And you don't have to find guys that were 5-star recruits from the highest ranked programs in the country. Creighton, New Mexico State, Utah, Iowa State, Pitt. Pitt's been terrible for the last few years. Vanderbilt, how they doing? That's what Matt McMahon's going to have to do. Don't look immediately to the recruiting class, even though that matters. Don't look immediately to this roster because you never know what's going to happen on it. Matt McMahon's going to have to go to the transfer portal like Texas did with Chris Beard. Then you got to coach him and win some basketball games. That's what's going to tell the story for Matt McMahon. And I just wanted to throw that out there because I didn't know about Texas' roster. Now I do. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 coming up after Sports Center. We'll get into LSU and Missouri and talk some SEC basketball as well. Stick with us on a Wednesday on Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Sky, I've got that sunshine.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $8,500 off new 2022 Ram 1500s. New 2022 Ram 1500 trucks on our lot now with $8,500 off MSRP. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them. Because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Start your day with news and newsmakers. Start your day with traffic, weather, and local stories that are important to you. Kickstart your day every day. Mornings with Brian Haldane from 6 to 9 a.m. Weekdays on Talk 107.3.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Cornwall Toyota in Opelousas is here to help you ring in the new year with no markups, and you'll never pay over MSRP. And we have new inventory arriving daily. So Happy New Year from
This is Sports Center.
I'm Kevin Oitzer. For 23 years, Tom Brady tortured and tormented fan bases of NFL teams. He rewrote the NFL record book all by himself. He gave Patriots fans And for the final few years of his career, Bucs fans, pure joy and bliss with 7 combined Super Bowl wins. Today, that all ends. In a 50-second post to social media this morning, Tom Brady announced his retirement from the NFL, adding, quote, "For good." It is news that has dominated the headlines today. The greatest to ever do it is done at the age of 45 years old. Historic news from the WNBA. The biggest free agent move in league history has happened. Breanna Stewart leaving Seattle after 2 championships in 7 years and joining the New York Liberty.
It's been a roller coaster of emotions for sure, and I decided to go to New York because I want to continue to be great, and I want to go to the place where I can continue to help this league become better, to continue to raise the standard, and I feel like why not go to the biggest market in all of sports.
Stewie speaking with ESPN's Malika Andrews. The Pistons-Wizards game tonight. Detroit's postponed because Detroit can't get out of Dallas because of the ice storm.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. They're close, convenient, and have the parts you need fast, along with excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Half the work week in the rearview mirror. It is 2 o'clock on a Wednesday here in the capital city. Coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios, Hunt Palmer Show. Casey Gaines and Taylor Sharp back there on the 1s and 2s. Tigers in Columbia, Missouri. Como tonight for another SEC showdown. It's game day. Fired up. Quite there, are we? Got eyes on February 17th, don't you? We got basketball to get to, though. So we'll talk briefly about these Missouri Tigers that LSU will see tonight. Missouri's interesting. They've got some statistical basically they've got some really strong tendencies that they have played to in their first year under Coach Gates in Columbia. This is a program that's got a lot of pride to it. Now, they've never been to a Final Four, but they fancy themselves kind of a basketball school, and that just hasn't been the case. They've hired a couple of coaches who couldn't really get it done. Kim Anderson, Konzo Martin. It just hasn't hit. I didn't think Frank Hayes was a very good coach. And they hope that Gates will be the guy that kind of unlocks it up there in Missouri. And at the very least right now, they're fun to watch. Now, they may not be fun for us to watch tonight, but they are, generally speaking, fun to watch. They're 16-5 on the year. They're 4-4 in league play. Did find an error on their official website. It's got them at 5-4 in conference play. I looked through the schedule like 6 times to see where I was miscounting. I wasn't. They did. They're 4-4 in league play. In non-conference, they beat Illinois. They smoked Iowa State on Saturday by 17 points, which is an impressive win for them. Kansas smoked them in the non-conference. But in SEC play, they beat Kentucky and Columbia by 14. They beat Vanderbilt by 3. They beat Arkansas by 3. They went to Ole Miss and won a game by 12. They have lost 4 games as well. Lost at Arkansas by 6. Lost at A&M by 18. Lost at Florida by 9. And lost to Bama by 21 points. So that's kind of where they sit. It's an offensive team. They want to go, go, go. They're 8th in the country in offensive efficiency. They're 6th in the nation in points per game at 83.1. They're 11th in the country in assists per game. And they've really shot the three well over the last week. Last week, they went 30 of 60 from three-point range. They made 14 or more threes in back-to-back games for the first time since 2000. So 23 years since the last time they made 14-plus threes in a game. They're 32nd in the country in possessions per game. They want to go. 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 LSU wants to slow. They want to slow. They want to slow. They want to slow. And that's LSU's problem in playing some of these teams that they've played, whether it's Bama, whether it's Kentucky, whether it's Auburn. You're playing teams that want to go, and LSU just doesn't. Because the more shots that both teams get up, the more the percentages swing towards the other team making more shots. So LSU's going to try to slow this thing down against Missouri. Now, because Missouri goes and goes and goes and goes, and they run really fast and they shoot threes and they're very offensive, you understand what their roster composition may well be. And it is. It's smaller. They're a little bit smaller, so they want to go. They want to push it. They want to shoot. More possessions. And because of their size, they're not as great on defense, and they don't rebound. They're 209th in defensive efficiency. They're 292nd in the country in opponents' points per game, so points per game allowed. And in far as defensive rebounding goes, here's a stat for you. They are 362nd in opposing offensive rebounding percentage, meaning there's only one team in the nation that is worse at defensive rebounding than Missouri. It's Merrimack. I don't know where that is. I don't know what their mascot is. I know they don't rebound very well, but Missouri is the only team. Merrimack's the only team worse than Missouri on the defensive glass. But for all their shortcomings on defense, 209th in defensive efficiency, 292nd in points per game. They don't rebound, 362nd in the country in defensive rebounding. They're number one in the nation in steals. All starting to make sense here. This is the identity of the Missouri basketball team. We're not very big. We're going to play a lot of possessions. We're going to go after the basketball on defense and try to get it back. If we don't get a steal, you're probably going to score. If you miss the shot, you might get the rebound because we're trying to get it and go. That is the identity of this Missouri basketball team. Incidentally, LSU's won 8 straight against Missouri. We'll see if that continues. Here's their personnel. Their point guard's Nick Honor. He's 5'10", 200 pounds, I mentioned. Small. He's a grad transfer from Clemson. 8.5 points, 3 assists. Shoots at 40% from 3. Leads the team in assists. Good, short point guard. Juice Hill, probably going to spend some time with him tonight. Demoy Hodge has been a really nice piece for them. 6'4", from Cleveland State. Grad transfer. Hear that segment at the last hour about Texas and all the guys they got. Missouri's got transfers in the starting lineup from Clemson, Cleveland State, Missouri State, Northern Iowa. That's what this is going to come down to. But Demoy Hodge, 39% from 3. He's a scorer, not really an assist guy, but Demoy Hodge, a very good guard. Isaiah Mosley, 6'5", senior guard from Missouri State, 9.8 points per game. He was injured for a lot of the early part of the season. He's a slasher, not a shooter. He will turn the basketball over, whatever. Noah Carter, 6'6", senior, Northern Iowa, 9.8 points per game, 67% two-point shooter. You hear those four? Nick Honor, 8.5 points per game. Demoy Hodge, 14.6 points per game. Isaiah Mosley, 9.8 points per game. Noah Carter, 9.8 points per game. It's very balanced in terms of the scoring. They don't load up on one guy. They only have one real forward that's going to start, and that's Kobe Brown. 6'8" senior, 16 points per game, 6 rebounds per game. He's a Missouri lifer. 44% from 3, 57% from the floor, 79% on free throws. LSU's got to do something about Kobe Brown tonight. Now, whether that's KJ Williams that you want to ask to do that, which I think you probably will, or whether that's someone else that you've got in mind. I don't like Jalen Reed guarding him. I think that you're talking about a senior dealing with a freshman is a recipe for disaster. I think KJ's going to have to play him. Can't get in foul trouble, though. Kobe Brown will get you in foul trouble. He'll put it on the floor from the elbow. He'll get, an offensive rebound here or there. If KJ gets in foul trouble, LSU's in big trouble. We know that. He's going to have to deal with Kobe Brown. LSU, size-wise, can match up with the other guys, and it's just a lot of balance in scoring. But I can break all this down, and I can tell you that Missouri plays fast, and they make a lot of threes last week, and they can't play defense, and they don't rebound, but they do steal the ball a lot. All these things I can break down, and I can give you. If LSU's offense doesn't make some shots, it's not going to matter. For the 905th time in the last 3 months. And it doesn't do you any good if Adam Miller makes 5 threes, but KJ goes 4 of 18 or 4 of 23 or whatever he did on Saturday. It's got to be both. With a little help from Cam Hayes. with a little help from Jalen Reed here or there maybe. The good news is I find that this LSU team is probably going to match up better with the offensive teams than they do the defensive teams. If you've got a team that's great on defense, LSU's probably not going to score much. At least Missouri may give LSU the chance to score some. Got to take care of the ball. Missouri, number 1 in the country in steals. We know this. Don't let them steal it. Easier said than done. Take care of the ball. Matt McMahon said on Monday night that on Saturday, they did a pretty good job of taking care of the ball for one 11-minute stretch, and that was the good run that they had against Texas Tech. Got to continue that tonight. Juice Hill's back. He may not knock down a lot of threes. He may not finish at the rim a lot, but he hasn't turned it over a ton. That's your hope. How big a bummer is it that I have to, every time I preview a basketball game, I have to say, that's the hope. Not, here's what they got to do. Here's where they have the advantage. Here's the matchup you got to exploit. So you got to hope. You kind of got to hope that they toss some in. I have not looked at the line just yet. I'll take a guess that it is, I would guess 9. Let's see how close I am to getting that correct. I'm looking through FanDuel right now. I know this is riveting radio as I scroll through a sports betting app, but I'm curious to see what the line is. And I think more people are probably interested in betting the game than they are watching the game, which is disappointing on its own face. There it is, 10.5. Whew, 10.5. Yeah, I don't know that I can bet LSU plus 10.5 at this point, but what I just say, we can hope, right? LSU and Missouri tonight at 8 o'clock from Como. We'll come back with some more, including how did my picks do yesterday? We've got the results. So it's Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Moon Griffon is back. The voice of Louisiana politics makes his return to Baton Rouge. Catch the Moon Griffon Show weekdays from 9 to 11 a.m. on Talk 107.3.
All right, let's say ah.
With my
super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
Corval Toyota in Opelousas is here to help you ring in the new year with no markups, and you'll never pay over MSRP. And we have new inventory arriving daily. So Happy New Year from our Corval Toyota family to yours.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walk.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCoRoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. More reaction to Sean Payton becoming the Broncos head coach. We'll preview LSU, Missouri, recap Pels and Nuggets. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
By now, my ability to handicap really any sport is well known to the masses. If you've been listening to the show at all, you know that I pick winners at about an 11% clip, I think, if we run the numbers on that. So we started just kind of throwing out some picks for SEC basketball games. And I want to hold myself accountable. I want to understand what I say, what the results may be. We don't want to make prognostications and picks and then not be accountable for them down the road. So what we'll do here is we'll just talk about the action that was last night. All right, what was my first pick, Casey? Monster game at Bud Walton, Arkansas, a 3.5-point favorite. I'll take A&M in the points. Quite frankly, the way they're playing right now, 7-1 in the league, I'll take them. Final score: Arkansas 81, A&M 70. That's a misfire. Really, there we go. There's a look. A&M stayed in it. They were down at the half and made a run in the second half, but Arkansas has found some offense. They're not shooting the three great, except Devo Davis, who's found his three-point shot. He was the worst three-point shooter in the league until they got to Baton Rouge. But they found some offense. They were able to score 81 points on Texas A&M, and quite frankly, even though Arkansas feels like a bigger threat because of the talent level that they have towards the NCAA tournament, I was pulling for Arkansas in that game somehow because I just want A&M to fail more often than not. I actually like Buzz Williams. I don't dislike him. I just dislike their program. So I was pulling for Arkansas. They won. I did not cover. But I made a couple other picks. What's the next one? Do I feel good about it? Betting on Vanderbilt in Tuscaloosa? Not really. But I'll take the 15.5 because it's a lot. I'm counting on Vanderbilt to get to 65, which means if they lose 80 to 65, I win. That's what I'm looking for there from the doors. Just play the buzzer. I got 15.5. They lost by 56. I needed Vanderbilt to get to 60. They scored 44. They gave up 101. Oh, God, that was not close at all. Why would you take Vanderbilt against the top 5 team in the country? 15 points is a lot. That sounded good. Vanderbilt has had some games where they've scored some points. They've gone over 80 a couple times in league play. I thought, man, if I could just get to 60, that's not asking that much. Then you just got to hold Bama right around 7. That didn't work at all. I knew Bama would be furious. They got smoked by Oklahoma. It was a gut check time. They come back home, and they won 101 to 44. I'm looking at the box score from that game. Oh yeah, Vanderbilt, nice shooting performance. 3 of 30 from behind the arc. Proud of whoever T. Thomas is for Vanderbilt. I don't know what his first name is, but he came off the bench and put up 10 threes. He only made one of them, but you miss all the shots you don't take, I guess. That's what Michael Scott taught me. Bama 19 of 41 from 3. Brandon Miller threw in 6 of his 13. So, nice pick. We're 0-2. How do we do in the other pick? Mississippi State's a 9.5-point favorite. South Carolina stinks. I would have to take Mississippi State in this one. Hey! They won by 15. That's a winner. Cash. Mississippi State goes to South Carolina. They win 66-51. That's the point. Like, when Mississippi State plays really poor teams, what I just say about LSU going to Missouri, I think that LSU has a better chance against teams that are not that good on defense. Because if you're a really good defensive team, it's hard for me to find a way to get LSU to 65 points. And that's the point here with Mississippi State. They play a South Carolina team, even though it was on the road, that can't score. And they didn't. They scored 51 points. Mississippi State did enough to get a 66-51 win. So Mississippi State improves to 2-7 in league play, and South Carolina at 1-8. Did I win the fourth pick, Casey? Play it for us. Kentucky, huge over the 7.5. Love it. Hey, that was like my mortal lock of the week. That got home. They won by 9. It was a tie game at halftime. I'm sitting at Pluckers, doing sports trivia, calling out my trivia questions. Somebody leaves their table that they're playing sports trivia at. I'm just minding my own business. I'm trying to watch the Pels game. I've got a cold beer. I'm trying to enjoy my night, calling out some trivia questions. Some guy runs up to my table, puts his phone in my face, and goes, "Hey, I faded you. Took Ole Miss, and you said Kentucky minus 7.5 was a lock. It's looking pretty good because Ole Miss was winning at the end of the first half. At halftime, it was tied." Left his table to come taunt me. That got home. That's a winner. So we go 2-2. At this point, I have to proclaim a 2-2 evening in the Southeastern Conference as a slam dunk victory for me. So we're going to go ahead and take that. Don't mind the fact that I took Vanderbilt and they lost by 60 points. That's not relevant. It's just one unit. I got home with a couple. That away, Cats. Way to go to Oxford, even though you played like trash for the first half. Got the cover. That's what you love to see. I did not know, however, so maybe I can't take enough credit, that Deshaun Ruffin, who's one of Ole Miss's best players, quit the team this week, and I didn't even know that. Found out this morning that he didn't even play in this game and didn't travel over the weekend. So I didn't have that piece of information. Doesn't matter. I had it locked. So we got home with the Kentucky Wildcats. All right, let's go to tonight's action in the SEC and see if we can't do a little bit more winning. And by winning, I mean maybe go 500. 2 games, because I'm not picking LSU in Missouri. Tennessee is going to Florida. This used to be the game in the SEC outside of maybe Kentucky and Florida. Tennessee, number 2 in the nation. They are headed down to Gainesville, only a 5-point favorite in the O-Dome. Tennessee has been really consistent, beat Texas over the weekend. The defense is great. Florida, this line seems way too tight, so I will go ahead and just fade what I think. Maybe so that really puts you in a pretzel. If I fade me, then you don't know whether to fade me or fade me fading me. That's a tough scene for y'all. But I'm going to take Florida. I will take the 5 points at home because that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So, therefore, I got the Gators. Doesn't feel like a great bet. And then the Georgia-Auburn game on the Plains. Auburn has not played great of late. They are a 12-point favorite over Georgia at home. Does the mystique of Auburn Arena have a little bit of a waning sensation after Texas A&M went in there and just smoked them? I don't know. I'm inclined to say that I will take the points with Georgia. Once again, I don't feel like that's a great plan. I'm taking the lesser of both matchups in this one. Tennessee's definitely better than Florida, and I'm on Florida. Auburn's definitely better than Georgia, and I'm on Georgia. But 12 points is a lot. Maybe we can get a backdoor cover. Maybe toss in a couple of threes late. That would be very, very nice. But I'll go ahead and take the 2 bad teams in this one and catch some points. So we'll see how that goes. They have to cut it up tomorrow and see how things went. But we'll see. I honestly didn't know that I went 2-2, but we'll take that. I did know that I had picked Vanderbilt, and that was not great. So there's your look at the SEC scoreboard for tonight. Tennessee, Florida, 6 o'clock on ESPN2. Georgia and Auburn, 6 o'clock on SEC Network. LSU with the late game at 8 o'clock. I want to remind you, it's the 104.5 ESPN Big Game Contest presented by Heineken Silver, where you could win $50,000 in cash if your name is drawn from the pot and you've correctly guessed the final score of the big game coming up next week. We'll also be selecting a guaranteed local winner. The 104.5 ESPN Big Game Contest is presented by Heineken Silver. All the taste, no bitter endings. We actually had a bunch of Heineken Silver up here, so some of it came home with me last night. Get your score guesses in now at 1045ESPN.com. 30 minutes left, still a lot to get to. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com. How much better would your living situation be if you had a brand new closet and or a brand new bathroom? David Duvall and his team are here for you. Been serving this community for 3 decades. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com. They've got a ton of pictures of the great work that they've done. They've got a ton of testimonials of the great work they've done. Let them come in and give you a free consultation. Doesn't cost anything for them to come in and say, hey, what do you want? Here's what we can do. And then I guarantee you'll want to go through with that project. They can do a tub to shower conversion in your bathroom, totally open things up, put a walk-in shower, really change the way that your bathroom looks. And if your closet is cluttered, dysfunctional, disorganized, let them come in and help. They can do cubbies, they can put in mirrors, they can do tie racks, different shelves and drawers, and just open things up for you in your current living situation. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. I can promise you this. If you hire One Bath and Closet, David Duvall's team, they're going to come in, they're going to give you a schedule on how things are going to go. They're going to show up on time, they're going to complete their work on time, and they're not going to come back 3 weeks later because they did something wrong, and they're going to have to fix it. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. One Bath and Closets, the website again is onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Start your day with news and newsmakers. Start your day with traffic, weather, and local stories that are important to you. Kickstart your day every day. Mornings with Brian Haldane from 6 to 9 a.m. Weekdays on Talk 107.3.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Jimmy Ott for the Wednesday evening edition of Game Time. We're live at Roca Pizzeria on Government Street. Game Time at Roca Pizzeria Wednesday, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So, we're probably not going to have a guest in this segment from the Bayou Recruiting Bash, being that it's not happening. But it is National Signing Day. There's been one big announcement. Nicholas Harbor, the big 5-star from the East Coast, who was thought to be a heavy Oregon lean, is actually headed to South Carolina. So shout out Shane Beamer for that pull. But it's just a different world now. This used to be one of the bigger days on the college football fan calendar. Whether it's the Bash here in Baton Rouge or the all-day ESPNU lineup of recruiting, and you got announcements in the morning and fax machines and flips and Twitter going crazy and people parachuting out of airplanes and pulling dogs out of suitcases and all that kind of stuff was going on the first Wednesday in February. And it's all gone now, basically, because the hay's in the barn in December. And I thought this morning, I was like, is this a good thing or a bad thing for college football? And the more that I think about it, like, I think it's probably on the negative side. And the reason I think that is more so with the coach's calendar than it is with the functionality of the time period. It's just so crazy to me that these coaches are expected to full court press, closing out their signing class, all in a 4-week period that encompasses transfer portal opening, coach firings, coach hirings, conference championship games, bowl games, playoff games, and all that's in December. While the season is technically, for most teams, still going where there's a bowl game. Used to be, you were certainly paying attention to recruiting, making your calls, keeping contact, creating relationships, checking on commitments and all that, but you finished your season. And then it ended, whether it was December 22nd or January the 3rd or whenever it was, and then you full court pressed 4 weeks on getting out and putting together your signing class. And to me, that made the most sense. That team's done. Let's go start working on the next class. Not start working, but finish it, I guess. And now you've slammed it all into December, which doesn't really have too much impact on the younger players, the freshmen that are coming in. But I just feel like it jams everything up for the coaches. And so now, and maybe it's one of those deals where you kind of even out the workload in my place, where you finish the season in December and then you go into January and you full court press on what's next. Now you just do everything in December, and maybe you take your foot slightly off the gas in December, understanding that you need to go do your junior evaluations and make your contacts and check on grades and visit families. And now you start to put together and so it's just a little bit slower pace in January. And maybe that is what the coaches prefer. My strong inclination is that they don't. But it's just so odd remembering the All-Star games leading up to things in February, and the Bash and the Joe McKnight signing and that kind of stuff that all went into that first Wednesday in December. I think maybe a Tuesday at that time. And it's just crazy how we've gotten here. And things just continue to change in the college football world. From the schedule that I'm laying out here, to the transfer portal being what it is, to name, image, and likeness. We'll talk about Jacob Machada coming up in the next segment. To conference realignment and expanded playoffs. And everything just keeps changing so rapidly to this sport that we kind of got into a rhythm with. And some of it's good. And some of it I find to be a little bit much. You heard me sing from the rooftops that I wanted to expand the playoff. I did it in August. I did it in September. I did it when we watched TCU go up there and get blasted against Georgia. I like that. I don't mind the fact that college kids can make money off their name, image, and likeness. I think when practiced correctly, I think that's great. A baseball player wants to give lessons. Football player gets money from jersey sales. Jump into a car commercial or advertise a burger. That's all well and good. You start promising $13 million and having kids sign letters of intent to places they won't want to go, and then the money doesn't come in, so they leave and go somewhere else. All that's a bit much. But you can't fix... I use air quotes there. You can't go back on this. NIL is what it's going to be. You're not going to be able to restore amateur status back and just go back to the way it was. Not that we need to or want to, but you can't. There's laws in place that aren't going to allow that to happen. But you can always manipulate the calendar. So I just wonder if this is here to stay forever, or if there are enough coaches, happy or unhappy, that would want to make a change. That I didn't even really know yesterday when I was getting ready for the show that today was the day. I mean, I knew today because I found out yesterday, and we've seen some stuff on Twitter today, especially the Nicholas Harbor stuff. But it's just like, it's a different world. And for LSU or A&M or Bama or anything, to just not have anyone sign on the dotted line today is wild. But it's the way of the world now. National Signing Day today. We do not expect a single bit of movement for LSU. That hay's in the barn, potentially in the new transfer portal period after spring football. There may be some movement. And that's the last kind of unknown frontier at this point, is we saw coming what December was going to become. And it did. Thousands of players in the transfer portal. Thousands. We knew that was coming. We don't really know to what degree the storm will come in May. Is it another land rush? Is it just a couple of people? Is it more heavily slanted towards quarterbacks because they didn't get the reps they thought in the spring? Are there going to be early enrollees that enter the transfer portal because they figured out in 5 months they didn't want to be there? That frontier we haven't crossed into yet. And I'm curious. My gut tells me that it's going to be pretty slow. But I can easily have, the other little talking guy on your shoulder say, hey, you realize these kids are going all over the place. One-time transfer, you can leave whenever you want. Coaches are going to tamper. NIL stuff's going to be out there. Yeah, they're going to be going all over the place. I feel like that's not going to be the case, but I can see it. Just have to see what the implication is. And as always the case, when I evaluate what's going on in college football, in any situation, I default to, what does it mean for LSU? We'll just have to see. National Signing Day today. Nothing doing on over there on campus at LSU, which is okay because they got it all locked up in December. We'll take one more time out. When we come back, a little take it or leave it on a Wednesday on Palmer Show.
This is on Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moon Griffon is back. The voice of Louisiana politics makes his return to Baton Rouge. Catch the Moon Griffon Show weekdays from 9 to 11 a.m. on Talk 107.3.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Toyota in Opelousas is here to help you ring in the new year with no markups, and you'll never pay over MSRP. And we have new inventory arriving daily. So Happy New Year from our Corvette Toyota family to yours.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. More reaction to Sean Payton becoming the Broncos head coach. We'll preview LSU, Missouri, recap Pels and Nuggets. Join us 3 to 6, 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This February, 1045 ESPN and Citizens Bank and Trust are here to offer you a holiday rebate to the tune of $2,000 in a cash prize. We'll also be selecting a local prize winner to receive $1,000 in cash. So sign up now at 1045ESPN.com. Hunt Palmer Show here, wrapping things up on a Thursday. Saw a press conference that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch were having over in San Francisco, kind of a season wrap-up deal, and they were asked any scenario where you can envision Jimmy being back next year, meaning Jimmy Garoppolo, and what would that look like? And Kyle Shanahan just bluntly said, no, I don't see any way that's going to happen. So Jimmy Garoppolo will be looking for a new home next year. In my opinion, the Saints should look into that. You can't expect to do anything of substance with Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston on your roster right now. You've clearly quit on Jameis, and Dalton is not any good. So they've got to do something. Now, I gave you a whole dissertation at the lead of the show saying that the Saints can't mortgage their future by shipping off draft picks and all that. And if that's the case, then I still stand by that. But if he's available for dollars and cents of some sort, I would look into trying to make that work. But keep your draft picks and try to fill some other holes in the roster. More Saints quarterback talk as we kind of move forward. But we'll play some Take It or Leave It now, Taylor Sharp.
Yeah, let's do it. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers will retire Tom Brady's jersey. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, I'm going to take that. I mean, obviously his entire legacy is baked into to New England, but I shouldn't say that. 96% of his legacy is baked into New England, what he did there. But he proved he could leave the nest and leave Belichick and Kraft and that powerhouse there and do it on his own with another organization, and he did it. So, yeah, they won a Super Bowl. He's the greatest player who ever lived. He played for them for a few years. This is not some sort of Joe Montana Chiefs situation. This is a guy that won a Super Bowl and led the NFL in passing yards for you. His jersey will be retired in Tampa. I will take that.
Mr. Moneybags himself, Jaden Rashada, has committed to Arizona State. Sun Devil football over the SEC. Take it or leave it.
I got to leave it. I don't know what his NIL deal is going to be. I don't know what he was promised at Florida. I don't know what happened at Florida. I don't really care. But in any line of work, you're going to see people, and this is a line of work for him at this point if you're going to pay for play. You're going to find people whose number one priority, without a number two priority, is money. And it's pretty clear that Jalen Rashada's only consideration in this deal is cash. And that usually doesn't work out. And I'm sorry, but the opportunity to play at Florida in the swamp kind of beats playing as a Sun Devil. I don't know what he's going to make. If it's $50 million, have at it. Something tells me it's probably not. But it's one, the decision to give up an SEC football career to go play in the Pac-12, which is dissolving, basically. And two, I don't know that I want him being the quarterback of my team if those are the kind of decisions he's making. That's me. It's a young kid. There's a lot of money at stake, I'm sure. And I don't have a situation where that much money is being tossed at me. So I'm probably speaking out of turn, but it just doesn't seem quite right to me.
This should come as no surprise. He said that Arizona State is his dream school.
Of course
it took him 2 failed NIL opportunities to wind up there, but that's really where he wanted to be.
No one says Arizona State is their dream school unless you're there to party. And then that maybe.
Or that was their last option. Yeah. His dad did go there. So
okay.
The 7th hole at Pebble Beach. Take it or leave it.
Pebble Beach Pro-Am this week. I will take it.
I'll take it.
Golf fans will know it's the short par 3 out there on the ocean. I played Pebble Beach back 4 years ago. I think 4 years ago today, actually. That's interesting. It was right after my niece was born, and we had a birthday party over the weekend. So 4 years ago today, and we didn't have much wind at all. So to me, the 7th hole was kind of dumb. We go out there, it's like 98 yards. I flipped a sand wedge on the green and 2-putted for par, and it was gorgeous and stunning, but it was one of the easiest holes I've ever played. I understand if the wind's blowing 40 miles an hour, you got another different hole in your hands, but it's got a lot of history. It's gorgeous, so I will take it. My experience on it for 15 minutes 4 years ago was pretty pedestrian.
Interviewed at Reggie Jackson's golf tournament yesterday, Gary Sheffield said it was past time to be elected to the Hall of Fame. Take it or leave it.
I'll take that.
I'll take it.
He was mentioned in the Mitchell Report, and that's what these sports writers are going to hold against him. To me, as I've said a bunch of times in all the sports, when I think of Hall of Fame, I want to know it when the name comes up before I go looking into stats. And with Gary Sheffield, I feel that way. I feel like that was in my kind of teenage years of watching baseball where I think I probably had a better handle on the entire league than I do now. But he was as feared a hitter as there was in the league. He had that stance that was intimidating. He hit the ball so hard. He was a huge piece to the Marlins World Series. And then you look at the stats, he did have 500 home runs. And that was kind of his thing in this interview that I read. He said, look, there used to be a time where there were benchmarks and milestones that if you hit them, you were in. And he hit his 500 home runs. I know he's mentioned in the Mitchell Report, and everyone's kind of split on that, and people say it's cheating and whatever. It was a different time. And if it was one guy that did it, then you'd have a bigger issue with it. That's the Pete Rose deal. But if you've got hundreds, I'm just going to group them all in and say, okay, we know what happened, but you were a really good hitter. And I would put Gary Sheffield in the Hall of Fame. That's just my thought.
All right, good. We have time for one more. I decided to throw one in there because during break I saw some disturbing news. So today, Stephen Jones, who I also can't stand, said the Dallas Cowboys are committed to Dak Prescott and could see a contract extension in his future. The Cowboys, one of the worst front offices in the NFL. Take it or leave it.
They were pretty good this year. I don't think they have. Look, Jerry is what he is, and there's Steven. Look what this is what this says, Taylor. It says to me, they've got a quarterback who, in his time as an NFL quarterback, has proven he can be very, very good. Now, more often than not, he's not, but he can be. So, in my opinion, Jerry, looking at the clock on the wall, is going, I ditched this guy, and I got to go find another one. That is going to take some time. I don't have that much time. So I think now, where there were moves in the past for the Cowboys that were made based on ego and arrogance, I think they're now being made based on time. And that's a dangerous game to play. Your thoughts?
A lot of people always ask me, well, Taylor, there's a lot worse quarterbacks in the NFL. If you release a Dak, who are you going to get? Who cares? Dak Prescott is not going to win a Super Bowl for you. You can get a guy just as good that you don't have to pay $40 million a year for. I don't understand the contract extension talk. I think it's a mistake.
I would agree that it'd be a mistake, but I still lean on the fact that they just think, I got to cling on to this guy while I've got a chance. And
Jerry's in the business of making money. Jerry thinks that if his franchise makes money, he's doing a good job. They make money every year, so he doesn't care.
I disagree with that. I think he desperately wants to win another Super Bowl because everyone told him that run was a Jimmy Johnson product, and then he got rid of Jimmy, and Barry got one on the back end of it, but then nothing ever happened. And you have to live with the fact that Jimmy Johnson was a bigger part of this than you, and you've been a failure ever since, and that eats at him, I think.
Well, he's not trying very hard.
They won 12 games this year.
If you don't get anything at the end of the year, your win-loss record doesn't matter.
All right. That's what I'm going to have to fight with LSU baseball fans this year. Oh, man. They could go 54-2, and then if they get to Omaha and go 2-0, it's a disaster. Which, look, we're not there yet, so we don't have to have that discussion. But it's there's a part of me that agrees with that, and there's a part of me that says, well, you got a huge sample size. It's pretty good. So it is what it is. That's take it or leave it here on a Wednesday. Hope your work week's going awesome. Tomorrow we'll certainly react to LSU and Missouri tonight at 8 o'clock on the hardwood. 10.5-point number there. I'd have a hard time pulling the trigger on the purple and gold in that one. But we shall see. LSU's beaten Missouri 8 times in a row. Hopefully they can make it 9. I'd love to see him win tonight. I just don't have a ton of confidence. But that's what comes with an 8-game losing streak, I suppose. If you missed any of the show today, you can always catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on-demand page. Go up. All the shows are listed. You click the Hunt Palmer Show. You can find it right there. It's updated daily. If you prefer Spotify or Apple Podcast, we're right there. Just search the Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, review, and always appreciate those of y'all who are hanging out in the Bayou Ford chat over on YouTube. If you subscribe to the channel, you can get our content daily there on our YouTube channel. Taylor does an awesome job of cutting up 10-minute clips or so. Had the one from yesterday with LSU's defensive line depth and how that's going to be significantly tested in spring football. But you can find it each and every day if you just subscribe to our channel there on YouTube, so certainly appreciate it. Today's show, I opened with the Sean Payton fallout and talked about why it had to happen for the Saints, and it's a very, very good day for the New Orleans Saints because of the compensation that they got back. David Grubb from Hard in the Paint podcast joined us at 1:15 to talk about the Saints as well as his thoughts on the Pelicans, and they are certainly different than they were a month and a half ago. It is amazing what 6 weeks can do. I appreciate David coming on. What If Wednesday, a new feature that we're starting to roll out each and every week. Had a lot of fun today talking about what if Drew Bledsoe never gets hurt, what if Eric Walker never gets hurt up there at Omaha, what if Tyrann Mathieu comes back, and some others that we played What If Wednesday. A lot of fun. And then I gave your example, the end of hour number 1 of Texas' basketball team this year and how it was put together and why it gives me a little bit of hope for Matt McMahon moving forward. It's a tall order, but it can be done. That was the end of hour number 1. And hour number 2, I gave you a scouting report on Missouri. They're short. They shoot threes a lot. They play really fast. They get a lot of steals, and they can't rebound. That's about the gist of the first segment, but go a little bit deeper into it at 2 o'clock. I gave you a recap of my SEC picks from last night, where I went 2-2, and tonight, where I hope to sweep 2-0 We'll look at that. And then we talked a little bit National Signing Day and lack thereof there at 2:30 before we played a little Take It or Leave It. That'll do it for us here on a Wednesday. Matt Moscona is going to drive you home from 3 to 6 on After Further Review. Jimmy Ott's Game Time coming to you from Roca Pizzeria. That'll be tonight from 6 to 8. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Come on, Tigers, get a win, please. It's the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.